The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets overhead as I stared at the email on my screen, the words blurring into a venomous haze. Congratulations to Emily Harlan on her promotion to division head. My hands trembled on the keyboard, knuckles whitening as if gripping a knife. 7 years, 7 goddamn years, of 80-hour weeks, salvaging deals from the brink of collapse, turning this sinking ship of a division into a profit machine. And now this. Harlan's daughter, fresh out of some Ivy League bubble with zero experience beyond fetching coffee and flashing that nepotistic smile, handed my job on a silver platter. Rage boiled in my chest, hot and acidic, choking me until I slammed my fist into the desk, the crack echoing through the empty office like a gunshot. I could taste blood from biting my lip, the metallic tang mixing with the stale coffee breath of betrayal. I leaned back in my chair, the leather creaking under my weight, and closed my eyes. The office smelled of printer ink and desperation, the kind that clings to cubicle walls after layoffs. How had I not seen this coming? Harlan's casual mentions of Emily's potential during our weekly meetings. His evasive eyes when I pushed for my overdue promotion. Denial had been my shield, a flimsy one built on loyalty and delusion. "You're indispensable, Alex," he'd said last month, clapping me on the back with that fatherly grip. Indispensable, my ass. I was just the grunt keeping his empire afloat while he groomed his princess for the throne. My phone buzzed, a text from Sarah, my wife. "How'd the meeting go?" "Promotion party tonight." Heartbreak twisted in my gut like a rusted blade. How could I tell her? We'd been scraping by, dreaming of that salary bump to finally start a family, to escape the suffocating rent of our one-bedroom apartment. Now this. I pictured her face, hopeful and trusting, and resentment surged, not at her, but at myself for believing in meritocracy's fairy tale. I typed back. "Not tonight. Rough day." Understatement of the century. Pushing away from the desk, I paced the dimly lit floor, shadows stretching like accusing fingers. The hum of the air conditioner mocked my fury, a constant drone that amplified the silence in my head. Flashbacks hit me like punches. The all-nighters pulling data for Harlan's presentations, the times I'd covered for his mistakes, attributing them to team errors to save his face. And Emily. She'd waltzed in 6 months ago, her designer heels clicking on the linoleum, giggling at team lunches while I buried myself in spreadsheets. "She's learning the ropes," Harlan had assured me. His voice laced with that paternal pride that now felt like a slap. Humiliation burned in my veins as I recalled the staff meeting earlier that day. Harlan, with his salt and pepper hair and perpetual smug grin, standing at the podium like a benevolent king. "After careful consideration," he'd announced, "Emily will be taking the helm. Her fresh perspective is just what we need." The room had erupted in polite applause, but I saw the sidelong glances, the pitying nods in my direction. My face had flushed, ears ringing with suppressed rage. I'd forced a smile, congratulated her with a handshake that felt like touching poison ivy. Her eyes had sparkled with feigned surprise. "Oh, Alex, you'll be such a great right hand." While Harlan beamed, oblivious or indifferent to the knife he'd twisted in my back. That night, I drove home through the rain-slicked streets, wipers slashing like frantic accusations. The city lights blurred into streaks of neon fury, mirroring the chaos in my mind. Obsession took root as I replayed every interaction with Harlan. Was it deliberate sabotage? Or just blind favoritism? Doubt crept in. Maybe I wasn't as good as I thought. No, screw that. The numbers didn't lie. Revenue up 300% under my de facto leadership. This was theft pure and simple. Sarah was waiting in our cramped living room, the scent of lasagna wafting from the kitchen. A celebration dinner turned funeral. Her smile faded as she saw my face. "What happened?" she asked, voice soft with concern. I collapsed onto the couch, the springs groaning in protest. Harlan gave the promotion to Emily, his daughter. Her eyes widened, then narrowed in shared anger. "That bastard. After everything you've done." She pulled me into a hug, her warmth a brief balm against the storm inside. But as we talked, resentment festered. We could sue, she suggested, but I shook my head. Corporate law was a joke. Nepotism wasn't illegal, just immoral. Lying in bed that night, sleep evaded me like a guilty conscience. Fantasies of justice swirled, storming into Harlan's office, unleashing a tirade that stripped him bare. Or subtler, leaking emails exposing his incompetence. But fear held me back. What if it backfired? Job loss, blacklisting. Moral conflict gnawed. Was I better than this? Harlan wasn't evil. He was a flawed father protecting his legacy. Emily too. Ambitious, yes, but manipulated by daddy's strings. By dawn, cold resolve hardened. This wasn't just about the promotion. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I needed a plan, something calculated, not impulsive. Quiet calculation replaced raw anger as I sipped coffee, staring at the rain-streaked window. Subtle hints of vengeance emerged in my thoughts. Befriend Emily, gain her trust, then expose the family's dirty secrets. Harlan had skeletons, rumors of embezzlement from years back, hushed up. If I could dig. At work the next day, tension simmered like a pot about to boil. Emily's new office, my old one essentially, gleamed with fresh paint, her laughter echoing down the hall as she settled in. I forced civility, nodding at her suggestions in meetings, but inside, obsession brewed. Great idea, Emily, I'd say, voice steady, while imagining her fall from grace. Harlan pulled me aside after lunch, his office smelling of expensive cologne and old leather. Alex, I know this is tough, he said, eyes evasive. But Emily brings innovation. You'll mentor her, right? Team player as always. Suppressed rage tightened my throat. Of course, Mr. Harlan. Whatever's best for the division. The words tasted like ash, but they bought time. As he droned on about family values, I noted the tremor in his hand, a sign of guilt, or just age. Weeks blurred into a slow burn of resentment. I documented everything. Emily's blunders in client calls, Harlan's overrides that cost us deals. Inner thoughts warred. Guilt at my scheming, doubt if revenge was worth the soul stain. But heartbreak fueled me. Sarah's disappointed sighs, our stalled dreams. One evening, poring over old files in the dimly lit archive room, dust motes dancing in the flashlight beam from my phone, I found it. A buried report from 2018. Hinting at Harlan's creative accounting to inflate bonuses. Not damning, but a thread to pull. Suspense built in quiet moments. Anonymous tip-line email drafted, then deleted. Fantasies of confrontation evolved into strategic plays. I befriended IT guy Mark over beers, probing for network vulnerabilities. Hypothetically, I'd say, could someone access executive emails? His knowing grin hinted at possibilities. Emily sensed something off, her attempts at camaraderie laced with unease. Alex, you're quiet lately. Everything okay? She'd ask in the break room, coffee steam curling like question marks. Fine, I'd reply, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Inside, cold resolve sharpened. She was complicit, accepting what wasn't hers. As part one crested, a pivotal moment loomed. Late one night, alone in the office, I hacked into Harlan's shared drive. Password Emily 2023. Predictable as his betrayal. Files unfolded like a map to ruin. Offshore accounts, fudged reports. Heart pounding, sweat beading on my forehead under the harsh desk lamp. I copied them to a USB. Moral conflict peaked. Was this justice or descent into villainy? Doubt whispered, but resentment screamed louder. The die was cast. Revenge's slow fuse ignited. The USB drive burned in my pocket like a live coal as I navigated the morning commute. Horns blaring in symphony with my racing pulse. Rain hammered the windshield, distorting the world into a fitting blur of gray morality. Last night's discovery had shattered any lingering doubt. Harlan wasn't just nepotistic. He was a crook, siphoning funds while I slaved to keep the division alive. Obsession gripped me tighter, a vice of cold resolve twisting around guilt's remnants. What if exposure ruined innocent lives? Emily's. But no, her privilege was built on my ruins. Justice demanded balance. At the office, the air hummed with false normalcy. Colleagues whispered about Emily's fresh ideas, but I saw the cracks. Missed deadlines, client complaints piling up like unpaid bills. I played the loyal subordinate, offering advice that subtly undermined her, planting seeds of doubt in team meetings. Emily, that strategy might work, but remember the 2022 fiasco? I'd say voice neutral, watching her confidence flicker. Inner turmoil raged during lunch alone in the park across the street, benches slick with rain. Pigeons cooed mockingly as I stared at the USB. Fantasies of poetic justice evolved. Not a blunt leak, but a orchestrated unraveling. Anonymous emails to the board, timed releases building suspense like a thriller plot. Fear-clawed, retaliation, legal fallout. But humiliation's scar tissue hardened me. 7 years erased for blood ties. No more. Sarah noticed my distraction that evening. Our dinner table a battlefield of unspoken words. "You're scaring me, Alex," she said, fork paused midair. "Whatever you're planning, is it worth it?" Her concern pierced, stirring guilt. "It's not revenge," I lied, voice low. "Just setting things right." But as she cleared plates, clinking china echoing my fractured resolve, I confessed fragments. The files, the betrayal's depth. Her eyes widened, then softened with understanding. "Be careful," she whispered, hugging me. "Don't lose yourself." The plan coalesced over sleepless nights, laptop glow casting shadows on bedroom walls. I'd create a shadow account, drip feed evidence to key players. First, a hint to the CFO about irregularities. Then, fuller disclosures. Slow burn suspense in action. Let Harlan sweat, watch his empire crumble brick by brick. Tension heightened at a company gala. Chandeliers glittering like false promises in the ballroom. Harlan, tuxedo-clad, toasted Emily's meteoric rise. His voice booming over clinking glasses. She stood beside him, elegant in red silk, but her smile strained under the spotlight. I circulated, champagne bubbling like my suppressed rage, overhearing whispers. Alex deserved it. Validation fueled me. Approaching Harlan, I clinked glasses. "To family," I said, irony thick. He chuckled, but his eyes darted. "Alex, you've been invaluable. Stick with us. Bigger things ahead." Believable manipulation. His words a hook to reel me back. But I saw the fear beneath, a subtle tremor. Had he sensed the noose tightening? Emily cornered me later by the bar, perfume cloying in the smoky air. "Dad says you're upset. I get it, 7 years is huge. But we can work together, right? Co-lead or something." Her plea rang hollow, layered with entitlement. "Sure," I replied, voice even. Inside, resentment boiled. She knew deep down this was stolen. Moral complexity hit. Was she victim or villain? Harlan's puppet, perhaps, but willing. The first strike came anonymously. An email to the board's ethics hotline, attaching a redacted file showing Harlan's bonus inflation. No trace back to me. Routed through proxies learned from Mark. Suspense built as days passed. Office atmosphere thickening like fog. Harlan grew irritable, snapping in meetings. His face paling at budget reviews. Guilt nagged during quiet moments, like reviewing family photos on my phone. Harlan at company picnics, almost paternal. But heartbreak overrode. Sarah's fertility appointments delayed again, our dreams deferred. Emily's facade cracked in a one-on-one. "Alex, something's wrong. Dad's paranoid, thinks there's a leak." Her voice trembled, revealing vulnerability. Empathy flickered, but I quashed it. "Corporate life's tough," I said, feigning concern. "Hang in there." The escalation. A second drop, fuller evidence to a journalist contact from my network. Headlines loomed in my mind. Corporate nepotism scandal rocks firm. Fear spiked. What if they traced it? Doubt warred with resolve, pacing my apartment floorboards creaking underfoot. Climax brewed at an emergency board meeting. tension electric in the conference room. Harlan sweated under the projector glare, defending minor discrepancies. Emily sat silent, eyes downcast, the weight of complicity crushing her poise. I watched from the sidelines, heart thundering. Then the twist. As accusations flew, Harlan turned desperate. "It was Alex," he blurted, pointing. "He's bitter about the promotion, fabricating this." Shock jolted me. How had he known? The room erupted, eyes on me. But I'd covered tracks, no proof. In that moment, poetic justice unfolded. The board, reviewing real evidence, dismissed his deflection. "Resign, Harlan," the chair said coldly. He crumpled, face ashen. Emily fled in tears, her fresh perspective exposed as fraud. In the aftermath, as security escorted them out, Harlan met my gaze. Betrayal mirrored back. "Why?" he mouthed. I didn't answer, but inside, cold satisfaction bloomed amid guilt's thorns. Promotion. Mine by default. But the victory tasted bittersweet. Revenge's price was a hollowed soul. Unexpected consequences hit weeks later. Sarah pregnant at last, but our marriage strained by my obsession. Emily's LinkedIn post, a raw confession of privilege's blindness, humanized her, stirring regret. Harlan's downfall sparked industry reforms, but I wondered, was I hero or monster? The story closed on a shocking note. An anonymous letter arrived, Harlan's scrawl. "You won, but at what cost? Family's all we have." Enclosed, evidence of my hack. He hadn't used it, moral high ground or final twist. I burned it, resolve unbroken, but haunted by the gray.